I think it's already it's already happening, or it's already happening. So definitely a huge market. One point where I kind of vary with your comments, where you said that a few products can be designed which can have a longer life. Probably the ones right now might last for 50 years. The ones that we can think of can last for 100 years. But sir, people like us, people, they live for 80 years. I don't think they would want to live in the same place for their entire life. I think I see a larger market in you make a house today, in 5 years demolish it, make it again. In 7 years demolish it again, make it again. So I think that can be a very interesting thought, that do we want to build things which can last longer, or do we want to build things which can be changed easily?
See, society, my feeling is society next 100 years will have regulations where any limiting resource, if you utilize quickly, you will be penalized. So I think you will have to look at it, if there is a recyclable resource, no problem. But if it like cement, for example, I go to many architectural meetings addressing the architects, and first question I ask them is cement forever? Have you ever thought about it? And everybody is clueless. Cement is not forever. Once the limestone, everything is gone, deposits are gone, you cannot make cement. So people who will live in year 3000, what are they going to do? You have used all the cement in the next 20, let's say 2 centuries. So you will have to start thinking about the natural resources being left for future, and that's where every limiting raw material is an economic opportunity. I think that time has come that consciousness is building. So wherever you see that the natural resource is a limiting resource, so conserving any technology which will start conserving that, any technology which will extend the life, I think is the way to go forward. That's where the economic opportunity will come. So green is good.
So essentially, Doctor, what's happening is everything which is made, it all starts from the ground. Be it iron ore, oil and gas, limestone, wood, trees, they all kind of emit from the ground. And I think you made a very profound statement that anything which gets depleted, oil and gas gets depleted, then what is it that you're going to do after that? And this issue is going to be faced by society by 2040 or a little further ahead. The only thing we have, if we consume this planet completely, then you're at a dead end, and the only thing that you have coming in is the sun rays into this world from somewhere else. So this is very challenging as we go forward, and as our population goes from that 7 to 10 billion. Even as of now, I think just today there was some mention that there's an amazing remotest corner of the planet right now, and even pollution has reached to that corner. So pollution is what? Whatever we do, there's a byproduct coming out of that. We breathe, there's a byproduct. Cows, there's a byproduct. Cars, power plants, planes, everything's got a byproduct which is not good for the planet. And how does the leaders of each country address this issue? Like you said, there's a tremendous cluelessness going on. There's plastics on the ocean bottom. All the plastics have reached the bottom of the ocean. Because whatever is putting in the river, when it rains, it all just washes and goes there. I was on this particular matter of pollution. In Ahmedabad, they have a huge mountain. You've gone through that road, right? I couldn't believe the situation at around 5 p.m. in the evening. And the whole mountain is on fire from the inside. So all that is caused by the people and the residents of Ahmedabad dumping. And I'm thinking, what if that same story somewhere down the road happens to our city? We've got that corner thing at near Transfect, and I seeing that it's not growing. So where is it growing? Have they moved this side? Have they gone somewhere else? But essentially, this is a huge problem and possibly an opportunity going into that 2040 time frame is people who can handle the waste, experts and make small things.
One idea I want you to consider, I think, foldable homes. Because people, once they have money, they may want to go take their home wherever they want to go and live there. There may be parking spots, you may be wanting to play on, you want to live in Goa beach, but you want to live in Kodaikanal, tomorrow you may want to live anywhere. So can we look at people getting into the business of specializing in sort of transportable, constructible homes, and there is a defined service, defined this attached to that. It could be an interesting sort of a concept, but I think the amount of money which we'll have in the society, this may be an interesting sort of a commercial possibility which can emerge.
One way of thinking about, or a framework within which I was thinking that one can think about the materials that will be or will become viable, say in 2040. If you are looking at the fact that energy is going to be abundant because of solar power being very, very cheap, then there may be a lot of construction materials today that high-tech materials, lightweight materials that may be very energy intensive to manufacture, but and so are not viable today. But because the energy is so abundant, say 25 years from now, suddenly they may be the viable, materials of choice, whereas they are not today. So something like cement or bricks that are very also energy intensive, but easily made because the resources are available, but they may not be available for long, may start getting replaced with more energy intensive and high-tech materials such as carbon fiber or carbon fiber plastic composites, which may require not only a lot of energy but a lot of technology, but they are also more sustainable. So high-tech materials today that have extremely energy intensive processes may suddenly become very viable. So if one can position themselves to become good at that, by the time the energy prices drop, you may be in a very, very competitive spot when it comes to long-lasting, high-performance materials that require, I would say, very, very high temperatures to anneal and fuse and things of that nature.
Any other comments?
Sir, about the construction industry, my personal opinion, be it defense, be it construction, more and more researchers are now trying to draw inspiration from the animal kingdom on many levels. So, if you look at the architecture point of view of building homes, I was reading something interesting on how termites or how ants build their homes essentially. So, they are building homes with maximum amount of air and fresh air and light coming in at minimal resources. So in your first meeting you had mentioned us to be frugal. So if I come back to that point, if you ask my personal opinion, whenever resources become less, if you have to take that as a working model, my personal opinion would be if we concentrate on frugality, that could be foldable homes, or it could be something like what the Japanese did when they had lesser space. They were building smaller homes. Of course,
It's a huge economic opportunity. And today the size of the road industry, construction industry is nothing less than 1 trillion. And it's a very competitive business. But what I have seen is all the good engineering companies, all the good companies which have developed technology and delivered good roads have been progressing very well. And they are growing and they are becoming bigger. So small is no more beautiful there, big is beautiful. But the question is, there is a lot of innovation which will come. And there is a lot of technology which will evolve, which would sort of revolutionize that sector. Because being at the bottom end, one clue which I will give you guys is, most of the developed countries do not do research at the bottom. And bulk of the wealth is at the bottom in terms of the market spend. So if you can start bringing your innovation at the bottom of the pyramid is very which can be done where a lot of value addition can be brought in.
I have a question about roads. Is there a more economical way of using the space? Because if we look at just the amount of square footage that roads take up, it's tremendous. So just thinking how the canal towards Chani, they were using the canal and now they're using it as a solar field as well. Some people have had thoughts of using the roadways as or at least covering the top of them with solar panels to collect solar energy. So could there be alternative ways of using the same real estate?
Yeah, I think once the road is made, I think accessibility is gained, and anything which needs servicing needs to get built around that. So that would be whether it is a continuous cleaning of a PV, whether it is a horticulture, whether it could be anything. Like Gadkari is talking about all the highways. He wants to give that land along with that for farming, for orchards. He says, I will anyway it is lying idle. I will give to 10 lakh farmers and that much of fruit will be grown. And he said, who will eat that? My own country people will eat that. So these are the kinds of thoughts which are emerging. But solar panel, I would not be surprised to see that the whole city roads will get covered with solar panels at one point of time, producing electricity for the city lights and city requirement. It would not be difficult, and you will also get a nice, tunnel kind of a thing to travel in. So this is possible. I think that there is definitely a possibility. But the key question is, can a road last? See, today if you look at smooth road, rideable road is a problem. Any technology which will get rid of those problems is required. Any technology which will last longer is required. And any technology which can use only earth as a base material max is required. So I'll give you an example of South Africa. South Africa is the only country where the top layer of a highway, the bituminous layer, is only 50 millimeter. Rest everybody is like this. And they have perfected that technology. If you actually, I don't know how many of you have gone to South Africa, but South Africa roads are very good. Very good. They are one of the best in the world. So they have built that whole technology, the specification and all that. The world is starting to look at them as we are moving into sustainability. But these are the kinds of technologies which you will have to take a forecast saying that where the pressures of raw material will build, where the technology will progress and what it will allow you to go. I think that's where you need to be. So, like we are now starting to develop technologies where the bitumen road will last for 40 years. Now, nobody in the world is thinking like that. So when I was talking to a professor in Germany, he says, wow, you can actually do that? He said, yeah, I think it can be done. And we will build that one day. So even the Germans are not thinking. So why can't we Indians think? See, because their interest in road sector is very low. If you actually go into the top technical institute and they talk about bitumen or roads, they'll say, this is not my cup of tea. I don't want to do it. But Indians can do it. Because that's where the money is. Okay. Should we move on to the next sector? Or anybody has any comments on construction? How do you see that?
Why can't we have floating solar panels? Like we have most of the earth is covered by oceans and seas. Why can't we have huge quantity of panels covering kilometers and kilometers floating in the sea? Advantages are many, but that is possible, and if that's possible, one area where I see a huge growth is in the transmission of power efficiently. Like if you have to transmit power from say from a place 100 kilometers from the sea, from the land. And I think transmission of power becomes a huge scope. So I think that's one sector where I definitely see growth. I mean, even today, even if that doesn't happen, I think instead of us trying to figure out ways of generating more power, why can't we focus on making the power more efficient?
I'll just share with you what I was reading the other day. See, this whole computing capacity is going to make weather prediction perfect. That means in every 10 square kilometer, you will know exactly what is the radiation percentage you will receive, what is the cloud cover, what is the wind speed, what is the environment, what is the temperature, everything. Now, all this information on a global basis being fed into the internet computers or a global grid, it will know exactly who will produce more, who will consume more, so where to divert what. So that kind of a smart grid is emerging, and it will emerge in the next 10 years or 20 years. The question is, as you rightly said, transmission of the power. Because suddenly there is more power generation here and there is a power consumption there. How do you take it there? So, sort of integrating that power need and storage, both are going to be the key growth areas. I think that is definitely an area of concern. But floating on the sea, I think sea is too rough. And I think the current generation, at least I do not see, you will have an ability to float, and you will have to actually create very, very distinctly self-floating kind of panels. And then again, collecting energy and taking a cable out is going to be again a problem. So, yeah, because land is going to be cheap and free. But land anyway is cheap and free in Saudi Arabia also. Yeah. Or even Australia. If you go.
But sir, go on, sorry. So one article which I think a lot of us might have read, that Tesla already had the technology or the know-how to transmit power without wires. Like okay, we're talking about power, about wireless charging and all. But that's something that Tesla had already thought of and actually conceptualized long back. So I think if we can have like solar panels which don't really need any wire, any physical device to connect it, I think that can be huge. And I think there's a lot of research in the advanced stage that is already going on for this, for transmitting power without wires.
That is the induction effect, I think. You are charging wireless. I don't think there is a transmission of power wireless. I don't know. I know you just studied the electrical engineering in US. There is something like power transmission wireless.
No, I haven't heard of it.
To my knowledge, it's very limited distance.